Worry and stress are normal responses to strange situations and uncertainties, as many people are experiencing these emotions during this COVID-19 pandemic. Added to the fear of contracting the virus, the significant changes to our daily lives with the restriction of movement are contributing mental health conditions. It is crucial that we find a balance to maintain our mental health. Unfortunately, the COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted critical mental health services in countries, even as the demand for mental health services is increasing. Joining me now is emotional intelligence expert Tosin Imogeme. Good morning.
Good morning.
I hope I got your name correctly.
Well, I always pattern that.
All right, let's talk mental health now. When you look at what is going on, bereavement, isolation, loss of income, loss of jobs. In fact, an expert said that the COVID-19 pandemic is worse than even the Third World War, poses more threat than even since the Second World War, rather, if I may use the word. And I wonder, from that window, when you look at all that is going on, talk to us how this poses more threat than even the Second World War.
Well, the truth is, let me start by saying that humans are like vehicles. And it's not necessarily, when you have a vehicle, it's not how the body of the vehicle, is. What really matters, what keeps the vehicle going is the engine.
Right.
And our mindset is more like the engine. And once your mind is in order, every other part of you is in order. And the mind is pretty delicate. So it's a system that you need to know how to, work with or how to use it. For example, sometimes when you watch a movie, I often tell people that you are not your mind. You have a mind. So your mind is a tool that you tend to use. For example, there are times when you're watching a movie, perhaps a horror movie, and then you begin to feel scared. You know in your mind that this is stage
it's just
play.
a movie.
Yeah, but yet you're still scared. So it means that your mind is highly sensitive. So there are strategies, there are ways you can calm yourself or ensure that you do well and these things do not get to you. And one of those ways is to distract your mind.
How?
Yeah, you distract your mind from the ongoing uncertainties about issues.
This is in your face on a daily basis. So how do you distract your mind? I'm interested.
Yes, if you focus, it's just like, there was this story about in the biblical times where, Jesus asked Peter to, walk on water.
Absolutely.
And he was walking on water because he focused on Jesus. But the moment he began to focus on the water, he began to sink.
Yeah.
So the thing is, if you are, it's overwhelming. But the truth is, it's just like, for example, you contact HIV/AIDS. There are a lot of people who are living, and they are coping with it. But the moment you find out, the moment you know, even when it's a mistake, it becomes a problem. You begin to pant. So you have to distract your mind. I was at the beach yesterday, and it was really crowded, and people were having fun and all that. You understand? You see, the truth is, in chemotherapy, before that it's been done, they ensure that you watch 4 hours of comedy television. They want you to be positive because they know that the drugs or whatever they give you
has this effect.
Yes, it should only work when you have that positive mindset. So, but when you focus on the negativity around the world, it's real. As a matter of fact, this man died 2 days ago, Woodburn King.
Yes.
So it's real. It's not something that you can shy away from. But when you look at the statistics, when I did my own math, I discovered that just about less than 5% die from this virus. So it's not a death sentence.
But nobody wants to be a part of that 5%. Neither do they want their families to be a part of that 5%.
Yes.
So that is it. Because I know a friend who was distraught hearing that Woodburn King died, for instance.
Yeah, I was
and
too.
so getting to say that I want to distract myself,
Yeah.
it was a Herculean task, having to ensure that she takes her mind off of that, because it was a whole lot.
Yeah.
Now, come to talk about his wife, his family members. How do they distract themselves when it is a close family member?
Close family. The truth is, there's something about this world. I often tell people that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional.
Right.
So we're all going to go through one challenge or the other. But how we manage ourselves, during these challenges is what would enable us fare well, better or better. So of course, if you lose a loved one, you're going to go through a period of, pain, suffering and all that. But that's just a phase. That shouldn't be the end of your life. You need to move on. And like I said, what you focus on expands naturally. Whatever you focus on, the longest becomes the strongest.
Right.
So when you are focusing on the fact that there's COVID, there are other things, you watch a movie, go out. Yes, you're scared, but the truth is, you're not God. You don't know if the next person has contracted, the virus. There was a time I heard that, in the neighborhood, a friend of mine, in his neighborhood, there was someone, living with COVID, but he was self-isolating, and he never knew. He shook hands with this guy and all that. A lot of people may have even caught this virus and come it because they did not know.
Right.
But the moment you find out,
your mind
focuses on it, and it begins to drown. You drown in your own misery. So you need to stay positive. You need to, affirm to yourself, I can beat this, and do the necessary things you need to do. Self-isolate, take drugs. But if you are positive, there are times that you tell yourself, I can beat this, even when, the circumstances or the odds are against you. But you just keep telling yourself, I can beat this, and you eventually do.
Positive
you don't know how.
mindset,
That positive mindset is highly crucial. But, that's why I said, if you focus on it too much, it drowns you. You have to just take your mind off it. Yeah, it's real, but it's not my own reality. I'm going to go about my life and all that. For example, imagine that you're not feeling too well. You're sick. You're alone at home. You feel really down. But the moment you have friends around you,
your
you feel it. But
lifted.
your spirit is lifted. You feel much better.
So that's another way. But in an era where you're trying to, where it is said that social distance or physical distance, not necessarily social distance yourself from people, having friends around might put you at a risk.
Well, the truth is, we can only do so little. Right. It's good to play your part and let God, do the rest. But like I said, if you have a wife or you have a family member who's contracted it, how do you fare?
Having a positive
lot of things,
mindset.
Yes, so sometimes a lot of people have contracted it. There are a lot of people who were really careful. They were really extra cautious, but eventually they caught it.
All right, but beyond being positive-minded and perhaps distracting yourself, what more can people do? Because these are the realities on the ground now. And practicable things that they can do. Perhaps you can also beam your searchlight on that. How about reading books? Can that also solve
That's part of distracting your mind.
Right.
It's part of, not focusing on that thing, That's why, your scripture says, God, you guard your mind with all due diligence, because out of it comes the issues of life.
Issues of life.
So book reading, watching movies, going about your work, and other things. For example, you're at home. The moment you tell yourself, the times you're at home and you want to eat, or you do not eat, and you stay a whole day without eating. Yeah. But the moment you tell yourself you want to eat, it becomes
so invariably
difficult.
It has to be a deliberate effort.
Yes. Like I said, the mind is, you have a mind. You're not your mind. So you need to learn how to use the mind. Otherwise, your mind would use you, because the mind is self-destructive if you do not know how to use it. So book reading, yes, going out, just get yourself involved in activities that would not make you focus on the issue at hand. One of the reasons why a lot of people are happy during this season is not necessarily because it's Christmas and all that, because of the feeling that, 2020 has really been a tough year, and if you're alive, it means you're an overcomer, and we look forward to 2021 being a better year. That state of mind really helps people, because the truth is, fun, these things are part of what makes you healthy. It's not just walk.
Because it's crucial to our well-being.
Yeah, you need to, You're going to say something here. It's really crucial. There has to be a balance. Now, the fact that you're distracting your mind, there has to be a balance, because if you're distracting your mind and you're telling yourself this is not real, I don't believe it, that's not the point here.
So how do we strike a balance now?
Now you have to strike the balance by, that's the way. There's a place of faith where you have to pray, meditate, read the Bible, whatever you believe in. And while you play your part, like I said, you're not God. You don't know if the next person. I don't know if you do have COVID. I don't know. I can only play my part.
Right.
Go out, wash my hands, do the necessary things, and just hope that, I'll be fine. So that's just basically knowing how to use the mind, praying, distracting yourself. Don't focus, because the mind does not know negative. The mind only knows positive. So when you focus on something, there's no such thing as negative. The moment you're thinking about something, your mind is expounding it.
I'd like for you to to expatiate on that, there is no such thing as negative.
Yes, because what I mean is, you can't tell, you just, let me give this scenario. Anything you think about, your mind expands it. If you don't want something, you can't, okay, think about something and say you don't want it. No. The best way is not to think about it at all. Because the moment you're thinking about it, it's expounding. I don't know if that makes sense to you.
Okay.
It's expounding because your subconscious mind, whatever your conscious mind is focused on, passes it to the subconscious mind and it begins to act on it, irrespective of whatever it is. So if, for example, you're feeling guilt or you're feeling, okay, let me give you a scenario. There was a day I was out pretty late and I was with friends, a couple of friends. And so a friend of mine who called me and like, where are you? I said, man, I'm out. And she was scared, like, how would you be out by this time? And then she's female. Now she was asking me, are you with a female? Are you with a lady and all that? And the truth is she wasn't, but I didn't give her an answer to that. Now the fact that she started nurturing that thought in her mind, she started panting, started feeling bad about it, and she almost couldn't get it out of her mind. And the reality was, I was just with male friends. I wasn't with any female friend. So that's how the mind sometimes can be self-destructive. It's just positive. So you need to focus on
the positive.
Yeah, and
if we are to look at the positives out of the pandemic, what will that be from your own point of view?
Well, I think one of the best, there are a lot of people who said 2020 is one of their best years. One of the best years. A lot of people made it. This has been, for example, when the pandemic started, you know, we had to do the physical distancing, we had to start working from home and all that. The founder of Zoom recorded $4 billion when the pandemic started as of March 2020. That's a different way to look at it. So one man's gain is another man's pain. It's just like, for example, you having your car breaks down and it's a painful situation to you, but the mechanic who's going to fix your car,
right,
it's an opportunity for him
to make some money.
When you die, the person who sells the coffin to you is going to be happy because it's going to sell to, you know, it's going to make money. So there are positive, there are a lot of positives to take away from this situation. Now, like 2020 has taught us that we need to change. We shouldn't be resistant to change. You know, there's a quote that says it's not the strongest of species that, you know, that survives. It's not the most intelligent. It's those who are, you know, who are adaptive. Who can adapt to change. So, and a lot of things that we do today that we never knew we could do.
New way of doing things, the new reality.
Yeah, so, you know, and even reviewing, you know, your situation, because the truth is, there's something called cognitive reframing. Cognitive reframing means, you know, giving your situation a positive meaning. So if, for example, you lose a loved one, you tell yourself perhaps, because life is all about significance and not just how long you live. So tell yourself perhaps it's time for this person to go. Always review it. You lose maybe a spouse, you're planning on getting married and somehow something happens. Maybe she wasn't meant for you. Giving it a positive meaning helps you fare better, deal with it. Helps you fare better, because the truth is, if you focus on the negative parts, your mind begins to expound it and you drown in your own misery. You know, there was a scenario I was going to give when I started that, you see, sometimes it's not most times it's not our situations that hurt us. It's how we feel about it or how we interpret the situation. If someone dies, for example, if someone you know dies, nothing's going to happen to you if you don't know. Nothing. It's not like when the person dies, something happens to you. Nothing. But the moment you find out, you start suffering.
Mentally,
yes.
Emotionally.
Why? Because you give it a negative meaning. Oh, I lost this person. I'm not going to see this person again.
But doesn't that show that I'm concerned? Doesn't that show that I will miss the person?
Yes, it does. It's natural. But now you need to give it a positive meaning, because we're not all going to live here forever. We're just going to live for, you know, a stipulated amount of time. So if you really want to fare better, you need to give it a positive meaning. You're going to grieve. There's a moment. There's a period of grieving. It's just like I always tell people that you can't get that part. If you get injured, for example, you're going to bleed. You can't stop, you know, yourself from bleeding, but you bleed for a period of time. It has to stop, otherwise that becomes dangerous to your health. So there will be that moment of grief, but you need to.
Now, for those who perhaps lost their jobs, how can they be positive? Because a lot of, you know how it is in this part of the world where if you're working, you have loads of dependents. I use the word loads deliberately of dependents. How does that person look at life positively or that situation positively?
You know, whenever things like this happen, it always appears to be an unfortunate situation. But sometimes it could be a blessing in disguise.
Right.
You discover new strengths about yourself. You know, I have a friend who lost his job, but this guy is a good pianist. And now he's playing, you know, piano, and he's making even more money than he used to.
So he's not thinking of getting another job?
While he's thinking of getting another job, he has to look within for the resources. What more can I do? And he even enjoys, because the job he was doing at the time wasn't something related to his passion, but he just wanted to make ends meet. Now he's even enjoying, you know, playing the piano, and he does that for churches and, you know, gatherings and events and all that. So when things like this happen, you don't give up. You just have to look within yourself for resources. Perhaps I lost that job because it wasn't meant for me, or it was time for me to move on. That's you reviewing your situation when I spoke about cognitive reframing. When you give it a positive, you know, outlook, or you give it a positive interpretation, it helps you fare better. Yes, you feel bad about it, but you always remind yourself that there's more ahead of me. My best days are not behind me. My best days are ahead of me. And you look within. There are definitely different things that one can do, but the fact that you are used to this doesn't mean that this is all life, you know, this is all there is, you know, to life. So you just, you see, and the truth is, I often tell people that recession restored resourcefulness. Yes, when things go down, you know, when we had a recession, you know, years ago, it made a lot of people think, and what can we do? Because you have to survive.
Right.
Yeah, you have to survive. I always tell people that you're a liability to yourself, because even when you think you don't need anything, you need to feed. You need to feed.
Very
so
important.
you're a liability. You need to feed yourself. You need to take. So you have a responsibility. So that will get you thinking. But you know, a lot of people, perhaps that could have even that's the job they had at the time could have, you know, been their comfort zone. But now it puts you on your toes. Of course, it sounds sweet. But of course, it's painful, but you grow from that situation. That's it. You grow, you learn, you adapt. What can you do? What jobs are available? You know, there's a lot. The truth is, I always tell people that there is no shortage of opportunities. There's only a shortage of thinking.
Right.
There are a lot of things, just like, you know, the Zoom I spoke about. There are a lot of ideas that are coming up now. And people
so
never...
now that we have found ourselves in the second wave, because that is what it is right now, looking forward, how can people ensure that they stay positive, survive this period of the pandemic, because we don't know what 2020 will bring, that's the truth, and moving forward, what we can do to help our mental well-being, totally, our total well-being, so to speak.
Like I said, I've said that before, staying positive.
Just hitting on key issues so that we wrap up.
Yes, so you hear it all the time, stay positive. But it's really deep, it's really profound, and we just need to, and well, thankfully we live in an entertainment-driven, you know, economy, and music is part of it. You listen to music. Music is even therapeutic for the mind. Yes, you know, there was a part of the scriptures where, you know, King Saul was always depressed, and he had David completely for him, and he felt better. So these are things that helps you distract your mind and makes you feel better. Now, and there will be anxiety, because now we're thinking about, I have it too, but I have to remind myself that you just need to be positive. And while we anticipate problems, we just need to keep staying positive, you know. So the second wave is going to come, but I survived, and I survived, you know, the first one, and I believe I will survive the second one. Yeah, I can't control, you know, the things that happen around me, but I can control what happens within me. You know, ships do not sink because of the water around them. Ships, they sink because of the water that gets into them. So let's just go about our daily lives, and let's hope, let's pray, and take the necessary measures, and by God's grace, hopefully,
we'll survive. Thank you very much, Tosin, for your time on the program this morning. Staying positive is one key word that I have taken here. Ships don't sink because of the water around them. It is because of the water that gets into them. Very, very key words there. Thank you so much for your time on the program. We'll leave on this positive note.